This is Family Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Nancy Jasin Ensley for the first time. Welcome to the Family Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we love to talk to people live from all around the world. We love talking to authors. You're an author. You've been a legal nurse, a hospice specialist, a teacher. You've worked a lifetime of service, and you like writing. You like to continue to create with a purpose. So we're going to talk about that and tell your story. But a couple of questions I always ask any guest before we get started is what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
Um, I have a deep faith that motivates me. It keeps me honest. It keeps me trusting myself and trusting in something bigger than me. Another thing that motivates me is my past. I've been in so many. I grew up in a difficult situation at home and very confusing, and abandonment issues, PTSD, all that. And I developed, thank heaven, that I developed empathy and caring for other people who had those problems in their lives. Um, my energy is amazing. I don't know where I get that from because I'm going to be 85, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
85, yes, Lily. Yeah, not days.
Yeah, that's cool.
Another thing that motivates me is other people. They're amazing, and what you get to learn from them. And I never will give up learning at all. And I love reading. I read a book a night. I have books everywhere. My whole room is.
Yeah. So you like the physical books. Like I get it.
Oh, I love that. I love any kind of book. I audiobooks, any kind of book that I can. And I started reading when I was 4. And
That's good.
yeah, I don't know how that happened, but but I did. My parents didn't have much money, and I was put in a little like a crib, and they would throw newspapers and books in there. We didn't have any toy. We didn't have any toy. I had one toy.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did with it. And so I would look at those things on there, like Phantom. I'd look at those letters and I wondered what they did.
What they meant, yeah.
What they did. And so when I heard people talk, I'd look at whatever sounded like that. And somehow my brain took that upon itself.
Pieced it together. Yeah, well, the human brain is built for like language. Like
Yes.
when you actually, if you go into an environment, I lived there like in Japan. And what I found when I lived in Japan was like the people had multiple languages, right? They knew like Chinese, they knew like German. Like when I was in Japan, I would meet people, and it's a lot of the American expats. We were like very limited compared to people that were from like Europe or from Australia or from other places. They could speak Japanese, and they could speak Chinese, they could speak German. Right? They can speak Spanish, and we're sitting there like we need translators. We got like these like headphones on, and we had an interpreter translator sitting next to us, and we're like, oh wow, we're really kind of behind.
A little bit. Yeah, we've been pretty. We're still puritanical in a way. I think we're growing, but it's getting better.
Yeah, it's like when I was out there in the international world, I said, wow, like you learn like what you don't know,
Yes,
and what you should know. Well,
yeah.
I've always been very interested in creativity,
Yes,
and because like as a writer, you mentioned it. You like to observe. You like to. I think writers have this curiosity. They also are like they're able like a sponge.
Yeah.
Like a writer would go into a room, or they even go into a coffee shop, and they'll pick up stuff that's going on, and it was like, oh, I can use that.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
everything that's going on is like
it is. It is. You're like a big sponge. You are. If like I'll see a plaque in a restaurant or something, or I'll hear some argument that's going on. I'll give you an example. I had several businesses, but one of them was compression stocking. One day, it was kind of a cloudy day. It was in December, and a girl was smoking outside where I was taking my stockings to get made. And she said, look at that. It's a rainbow in December. I ran back to my car, wrote that down, and wrote that book. So you never know. You never know what you're going to see or hear or what miracle happens. Patients gave me, I had a Down syndrome young man who said he loved to do art. And he was an adult Down syndrome young man. And I said, would you draw an eagle for me. Can you draw an outline? And I use that in Orphans, which is young adult book that
Oh,
I
wow.
did. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yes, and he got to be my partner, and it was so much fun talking to him, seeing how he viewed the world. And
Yeah.
he got married, and he learned how to dance.
Oh, wow. Well, I think it's really important that observation, and also I think that there's another sense of observation that I was a sociology major in college was like, I think we can actually observe like the microcosm and the macrocosm. So the microcosm is like between our family direct relationship and then what's out in the general world. But also we can recognize our subconscious and then those external output inputs. And
Oh,
we tend to like take we are, as a creative, the way I've talked to filmmakers, poets, actors, painters, they're able to synthesize all of that
yes.
and
Yeah.
then create this new thing based on everything that they've received internally and externally and synthesize it into something new that kind of from you as a human being, like your sense of direction or your spark that only you have.
Yep.
And so that's why your voice is I don't believe, like I talked to this AI tech bro and he acted like, well, we don't need artists in the future because AI can just generate us. And AI just takes its machine learning,
Yes.
everything that it kind of copyright stole, or it stole the IP. It just takes what it did and it kind of treats it like a collage.
Oh my.
And it's like a very convincing collage,
I'm
but
sure
it's
it
not
is.
doesn't have any heart or soul.
No heart and soul. And you need a heart and soul for sure.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
we're energy. We have an energy. We have actual positive and negative energy that doesn't die. It goes somewhere. It happens. And you probably asked about miracles, and I've got a bunch of them.
yeah, well, miracles. Like I think that's what the human experience is like. Every writer, like songwriters, especially we tend to pull from stuff that's like melancholy, sadness, like crucible events. And I think any writer does that. They take like some critical things something really impactful. Now, it could be sad, it could be happy, it could be joyful. But a lot of times for songwriters, it's actually somewhat like a negative experience that we kind of go through like a cathartic exercise that
Oh,
we turn into a piece of art.
I so agree. My mother was a graduate of Juilliard School of Music and a concert pianist. She took a room and she could put energy in that room that you just couldn't get any other way. It was amazing. I love music. I enjoy it. I have a grandson that has his own band, and
Oh yeah, so you guys feel that? Like my daughter's is a graphic artist.
oh,
She
wonderful,
actually she actually is making a living not of being a starving artist. She actually does a lot of, but she does gallery work because that's her passion. But
wonderful.
then she does like logos and she works on
Wonderful.
commercial art. She does packaging art for people because she learns like, hey, I don't want to be a starving artist. I want to be a working artist, and then I can still put stuff in the gallery.
Then you can enjoy your other avocations. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. I think that's amazing. I think there's a gene in your body that they haven't discovered or isolated, and it's the creative gene. And
Mhm.
it's a smile face with a brush in one hand and an instrument in the other, a pen in another hand, a whole bunch of hands that you might dole out to other people. So that's great.
Yeah, it's like that DNA. Because my wife is an artist too, so my daughter got double blessed. She got hit,
Oh, she got hit twice.
both situations. But it's interesting about like balance across the genres. Because musicians, we get like our A&R people all say like, what genre is that, right? And they want you to like you have a successful song and they want you to stay in that genre. But as an artist, you're like, I don't want to stay doing that. Right? I want to do something else. And I see that you've written like multiple genres, like memoir to science fiction to children's books.
Mhm.
And that's why I think it's like when I've talked to a lot of creative people, that's kind of where the creative like ethos is. Like you kind of go whatever speaks to you.
Yeah.
And just because something was very successful doesn't mean that speaks to you next week or that's your next project.
No.
And then your management will say, well, just keep on doing that one. And you're like, no, I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to do. I've always been kind of a rebel, even working. even though I was very shy, but not really good with my self-worth, but I always wanted to push that envelope a little bit. So that had to be that part of me that I got from my father was a great photographer. My mom was a musician. Her mother was a nurse. I mean, a lot of those creativity was there, and that part pushed me through the shyness, and my faith did too. Yeah, big.
Because the thing is, like artists, you spend a lot of time like by yourself, like when you're actually doing the work. Like if you talk to any painter, they got to have time on the canvas. Like any musician, we're in a recording booth, we're in the studio. We might be in there like 9 months. We could be there at 12 months.
Yes.
You won't see us until we're done. Then we'll be on tour. But we're like not in front of anybody. We're like deep in the art.
In there. Yes.
And we have to, we're very comfortable. And it's always been kind of it's diametrically opposed, because like a musician, like a lot of us are very shy, very withdrawn, but then when you see us on stage, we have this other self that you would swear that, oh wow, you're just like all there, and it's like, well, no, if you saw me in the tour bus, I'm not all there.
I understand that, because my grandson and my mother were both very shy, but get them in front of an audience, they just glowed, because your passion comes through.
Yeah, I think that's it, because your passion project is like, that is your life. Like, and if you're able to do your art, and you can do that more in your life than just a hobby, right? Then you become like, that becomes such a joy that when you're in the middle of it, everybody kind of feels that energy. They feel the vibe. Like when you see somebody that's really like a really good actor, a really good dancer, a really good creative, and they're in their element, or like an author that's giving us a talk. Right. And you see how passionate they are about their work, and people are like, wow, I'm just drawn to that. I'm just drawn to that energy, right?
Yep. It's in the room. It's scientific too. If you don't believe in something existential, it's scientific as well, because there are all kinds of energy that you give off. And it can go wherever it wants to go, as long as you want to put it there and other people get it. So I agree with you.
Well, it's that law of attraction. Because I always say, like, you know, what the cool thing about the world today with the internet and in the ether is, it used to be like, if I'm sitting in like Idaho, right, and I can't get to New York, well, nobody's going to hear me, right, as a musician. But now you get to put something out there on the web, and somebody in Australia could dig it, and then suddenly your booker says, hey, you got a gig in Australia.
Yeah,
because this is a totally different world. So now you like, where people might have like held on to stuff, you kind of like, if you throw it at the wall, your tribe might actually find it.
That's true.
It's a different type of world, where some people was like, I got to keep on cooking on it. So they got all this stuff sitting in their room, manuscripts they never put out, stuff they don't do because it's not ready. It's not ready for the world. It's not ready for the gallery. It's not ready for the stage. But it's like, at some point you have to commit. What was like that for you? Did you have a moment where you didn't know if you wanted to commit to your work?
Yes. Growing up, I grew up overachieving. That's what I did. I wanted to present that to the world, because I didn't feel that. So we had pretty abusive life at home, and I wasn't going to let that do something bad to me. I knew you could go one way or another. So I continued. I wrote my first poem at 8 to my mother on Mother's Day, and she was so excited to see that. I got excited. I just was. It did something to me, and then there were times I went to be a doctor at Ohio State. I had a scholarship to be a doctor. I was going to be a doctor, and I thought that was a powerful person, and I didn't. And that wasn't a good reason to do it. So in my third, it was quarters at the time. In the third quarter, my mother became very ill. I had to come back here, take care of her. I said, well, I guess I'll go to nurses training. Was taking one more person at Toledo Hospital. I took a test and I got in there. That's a miracle. Okay. And it was the best thing I could have done. I can argue with doctors sometimes because I think I know better than them, and they'd say, "Well, Nancy, let's sit down and talk." Okay. But it has been amazing to me to be able to they did a new cover for Mitered Corners, and at night when you're the nurse and you're in charge of all those patients, and all you can hear is their breathing, and you can hear the tiniest cough, the tiniest cry, the kind lack of breath, where you can do anything you can do, stay overtime no matter what, and hold their hand if that's all you can do, or give them medicine and see the results. That it is a wonderful profession, and I've been able to be in all.
You got that empathy, like that's
Yeah.
what I think it's really critical, because like we're
Yeah.
living in a world today where you get some tech bros running around saying you don't need introspection, the empathy is not a positive, and when you deal with people like in healthcare or people like they're in social work and they spend their life helping the poor, helping the indigent, helping people who are sick. And having that empathy, it's like, well, maybe I don't know your culture, I don't know your language, I don't know your history, but like you're a human being, and if you're hurting, like I want to help.
Yes.
Versus somebody that thinks it's like, well, we don't need some people, because we get some very like black and white 0-1 on off type of people that are saying that like, oh, we don't need to be like we were in the 60s. We don't need that. We what we need is people who are just cold metal, just make the profit, lay off 30,000 people because you can make more money from your company. It can make more money even though you made a profit. If you get rid of 30,000 people, you can make more profit. So you're like, well, what's the like? Why did we give you a tax break if you're going to lay off 30,000 people?
It's a good one. I enjoy. Well, what happens is you have sensitivity, you have safety, you have all kinds of beautiful things with an S. You put 2 lines through it, you cancel them. That's all you have.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. When like I was living, like in Japan, it was kind of like there's like a lot of Shintoism, a lot of like Buddhism, other types of religion, more Eastern Eastern mindset. I remember like during like the flu season, like everybody was just willingly putting on masks. And when I asked them, I said, we don't want to infect our neighbor. Right. Which is like a different sense of community than like what we see in the West. It's like, I don't feel like doing that. I don't care if I infect my neighbor.
Yeah. They don't work. And it's too hot. Yeah. All of that.
I mean, that was just amazing. And this all was like 2004 to 2006. I was in Tokyo. And every flu season, you would just see people willingly putting those on. Nobody had to tell them.
No, they do it because that's what you do. Yeah, that's what you do. Well, we've got some learning to do, I think, over years. And we're a young country.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes we don't realize there's cultures that are thousands of years old.
Yes.
And there's like languages that mean things like I was reading Chinese and Japanese, and it's all kind of like symbols. And it's symbolic language, right? And the symbolic language, those symbols can mean a lot, right? And they actually mean more than just like a word, right? They have a lot of deep meanings behind them that you can read all that. When I was taking classes, it's like, sometimes the Japanese documents are a lot smaller than the American documents because their language packs a lot of information in less space.
I didn't know that. That's
so it's a different cultural, like when you realize the language is so deep in that way, and it's not a way maybe a Westerner understands. I was there 2 years. I started to get more. And if you were just there for like a month or a week, you don't learn what you need to learn.
That's a wonderful experience, though, because look what you took back from it. That's just amazing what you could do in other countries.
Well, I think you're what I was trying to seg into, like your personal experiences as a nurse and your empathy kind of segged into your writing.
I hope
that's how you kind of like, oh, I can actually be informed by that. And it was inspirational.
Very much so. I usually write very late at night, 12 to 3 in the morning, because my mind is so full during the day. Other tasks take me away from it. So I know that I'm quiet and in there, and all of a sudden, all these things come up, and I'm writing and sketching and drawing pictures and whatever you do to do that. And I always wanted to give a message. I really believe in introducing the protagonist to you so you get to know them, and you can develop some feelings for that person. Even in the sci-fi, my grandson at 12 drew a picture. He was a great artist, and he drew a picture of this thing with 11 arms and googly eyes, and I said, that is really good. Is that it's from outer space? And he said, yes, Grandma, and I want you to write a sci-fi. And I said, oh honey, honey, the only thing I know about it, I lived in Jersey. We went to the planetarium in New York, and that's what I know. The stars, I love them. They're great. I watch all the stuff, the moon thing and everything. I'm really amazed by it, how huge our universe is. And that's just a tiny part of all of it. Yeah. And so he said, Grandma, you just make it up.
Yeah, well, I'm a big comic book fan, and I'm also a big fan of like Rod Serling, Gene Roddenberry, Ben Bova, Harlan Ellison, and I like the pulp science fiction like magazines from the 50s,
yes,
the 60s, which actually inspired like Twilight Zones and Outer Limits. Were actually inspired by some of those writers. Actually, would write for those shows, and I always thought like science fiction was a cool tool. Because you could have, it's like a poet, what a poet does. Like poets, like layered, like duality and kind of hidden meaning. But have like it's a little deep. You have to dive deep. The surface level thing might not be readily apparent. Science fiction can do that because it creates this world outside of ours. But then you're making statements, about this world. Gene Roddenberry in Star Trek, he used to do that all the time. He would have all these like social statements, but it's on some other planet. It's some other alien species. They're green, or they're Vulcan, or they're Romulan, or whatever. There's something. But he would talk about like, well, like all the isms, and then put them into a science fiction thing, and not hit it direct. It's like very indirect, and I thought that was kind of cool that you could layer that.
That was, and there's so much more to it. And I had to study. Because I wanted enough believability in a fictional book that I was going to do. And I wanted to build the characters so that you got the feeling of how they morphed into what they did, or how they responded to all of this.
You make them like real people, even though they're living in some other world, or they could be a different like species. They still, you have to build that like you want people to get drawn in and stay in.
Yes. And even when the aliens or the other people from other planets, I wanted to have them interact with the other people and show what they had learned. The people that I had on Mars had no feelings. They got rid of feelings because they thought it just messed up things. They watched us doing things, and not a good idea. But so they were able, though, to procreate. They had an odd way of doing it. And then when we got there, we did go through a wormhole and got there. They watched us, and they saw how we responded to each other. So they started to mimic a lot.
Mimicry, yeah.
Yes, but they could only put it into their electronic system that was working, their AI, whatever it was. So, but there are planets at the edge of the universe. I'll tell you, Phantom, there is a planet of 5 planets that they've found at the edge of our universe. The middle planet, it has a long name, but that I named it Indigo because it has a bluish cast to it. That's because it's covered with nitrogen, and it's the same size as Earth, and it's the same distance away from its 2 suns.
Oh wow!
Really. So I use
there's a lot of Earth-like planets when you actually go and check the astronomy and the scientists check it. We just can't get to them. No, we don't have the tech to get to them yet.
It would take it. We'd be 1,000 years old if we could get to that edge of our universe. 1,000 years old, but many, everyone else would be gone. The Earth would be gone.
Yeah, you have to kind of see can we actually go through those wormholes? Can we do warps? It's like
It
in
depends.
a Wrinkle in Time, there was this idea
Hmm.
in that science fiction thing that you could fold, like when you fold a piece of paper, you can
Hmm.
bring it together.
Yes.
That's the idea of like doing a warp that you could
Mhm.
do physics. If you can take point A and point B and then fold them
Yeah.
in
Well, you
that
need.
moment, then
Yeah.
you actually get there. No, through physics, theoretical physics, there are people saying, well, that's possible, but we don't have the tech to do it.
They just
Right?
don't have.
Theoretically, you just haven't figured it out.
Don't have it figured out. Right.
Yeah, but like in science fiction, like Gene Roddenberry's, like the Vulcans actually knew how to do it, and they
Uh,
actually brought it to the Earth. Like it was like in that story, like they said, okay, we think the humans are ready for this, and they gave them the warp tech.
that was nice.
That was the story, but it's like they figured, well, the humans didn't figure it out on their own because they couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
You never know what they know a lot more than we do, probably. And we can't be the only beings. I'm sure there is more.
Yeah.
Of
It's always been like the science fiction that there's always this like
yeah.
other species that maybe knows more than you, but that's very threatening.
Yes, it is. It is because they feel they're all warlike and they're much more intelligent than to do that all the time.
Yeah,
So,
that's always the science fiction thing. Are they going to be scientists and
yeah,
look at us like we're ants
yeah.
or
I don't,
microbes,
I don't
or
know.
are they actually going to be warlike and say, well, why don't we just take it?
Hmm. Well, mine aren't so bad. Mine are reasonable because they're so far ahead intelligently. So they
Yeah,
teach
because
us a lot.
they might not look at us as like, well, you're not a threat, so I'm not going to worry about you.
No, what are you going to do about it anyhow?
Yeah, like if you're so far ahead, if you actually are able to get here, right, that means that you're so far ahead that you guys are still using fire.
Yes.
Like you're using fire to leave your orbit
Yeah.
with fuel burning.
Yes.
Like using like, okay, you're like still like in the Stone Age,
Yeah.
kind of
Way
like we're
yeah.
not doing it that way.
No. They're just laughing. If they don't, they probably don't laugh, but it
Yeah,
depends.
that's always been kind of like the cool thing about science fiction is
Yeah.
like you can make those kind of like an analysis. Is like you guys think you're so smart, but like how smart these guys are.
Way beyond.
Yeah, yeah, that's always interesting. But then it's like when you seg from like doing science fiction into like a children's book,
Oh,
it's like that because I grew up like Dr. Seuss and Richard Scarry, and
yeah.
the nurse, there's the all the nursery rhymes and the
Yeah.
classic like those classic children's books that people read like Trumpet of the Swan,
Yes.
things like that, Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web.
So what type of children's book do you like to write?
I the one I wrote about my granddaughter Isla. Her name is Isla, and she goes to Montessori school, so she's high intelligence. And so she put her hands on her hip one day and said, "I'm Isla, and you don't say the S. I'm Isla, and you don't say the S." And she said it meant it multiple times. And I said, "Oh, I like that." And she had a little. It wasn't an iguana, she tells me, but it's an alligator, but it didn't rhyme with the three eyes I needed. So I said iguana. So I think that type of showing how you love something that is inanimate, how you love it so much, yet you're acting like a teenager. How that distinction between you can be those two personalities is amazing.
Yeah.
I loved Huckleberry Finn. I love all those adventure books when I was young.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And I thought, okay, I'd like to write something about in our time about two young boys that have a terrible loss in their lives. They live in opposite places in the United States. And somehow they get together and they get mixed up with a terrorist group that has a plan to do our world in. Okay.
Oh, doomsday cult type of thing.
Yes. And they go through all kinds of energy trying to find their parents. That's their main goal, is to try. A disaster happens to both of them and they can't find their parents. They don't know if they're dead or alive. So they have that. And I thought that kind of Huckleberry Finn story.
That's a classic. Like, could you learn from we're all influenced by, as a musician, like I'm influenced by like Miles Davis,
Oh, sure.
by like Herbie Hancock. But I don't want to copy note for note.
No.
You kind of like, you look at what they did, you read
Mm-hmm.
you read Mark Twain, and it's like, okay, I like this about it, right? You read, you look at like the great writers and say, what can I take from Steinbeck, and like, what can I take from this? What can I take? And just being like, everybody is kind of some of their influences, and then how they take it, and then say, well, maybe I want a genre merge.
Sure.
And pull something from this and take something from that, and it becomes like, in my point of view, is different. So you come at it with a different perspective.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? My Miner's Corners it's about it's a compilation of stories that the girls that I went to nurses training with gave to me and said, you can use these any way you want.
Oh, that's a different type of book, yeah.
And but it also has a mystery. It has a murder, but all those actual things actually happened throughout the course of my.
Oh wow! They gave you stuff that they allowed you to use it.
Yeah, they allowed me to use it, and then I also experienced a disaster, a murder, all kinds of things that happened in there in Mitered Corners, and so that led to that book, and it was exciting to do it. And then Rainbows in December was, I wanted to do a murder mystery, but I wanted to show what happens when you get power, when power is given to you and you cross a line where you think you're still that same person over there. And I've seen it in leadership roles that I've been in a lot. All of a sudden, she still thinks she's this, and that she has the empathy, or she has whatever, or the resources that she had before, where all of a sudden something changed them. And a lot of times it's power.
Yeah, power. It's like that, Stan Lee had this thing with Spider-Man that, it's this classic idea. It's like, with great power comes great responsibility. And yes. A lot of times people would lose that. I mean, it came from a comic book, but it became this iconic thing in the 60s that Stan Lee put that in a Marvel comic.
Yes.
And it was kind of this idea, like, you can put morality. It's not just about, oh, guys, the superhero beating somebody up. You can actually have a story.
Yeah.
Where, like, you're, like, the idea of, like, mutants. Oh, these are the kids who are the oddballs.
Yeah.
Right? These are the kids who are getting, so they put these morality tales into the fiction.
Yes.
And that was always cool why the college kids were reading those books in the 60s. Those comic books actually appealed to not kids. They were kids like in college.
Yes.
Reading those books, and it changed the dynamic of that type of art, where people started taking it seriously. Like in Japan, like in manga in Japan, adults read comic books.
They do.
It's meant for like adults, and the stories are kind of deep. And they have a lot more to them because they're not just meant for kids.
Yeah. They have a message. Yeah. It's a big thing.
It's always interesting when you can take, like, when you have children's stories, do you want to have like these like your kid's going to learn a lesson? The story's going to teach a lesson. Is that your point?
Yes. And Bernard Bartholomew Bosselbein, we call him 3B. It's hard to say that. He was a product of a man from a planet way behind the stars you've never heard of. And we made up all the names and we made up words. And they sent him down here. They didn't like him because he smiled all the time. And that wasn't part of what you need to do on that planet. So they sent him in a beat up rocket ship to the Earth to study us. Mm-hmm. And when he landed, he had antenna and he wanted to cover them up so he wouldn't be noticed. And so he saw this hat shop and he met this lady, Pat, who had a big nose and people used to make fun of her. And he didn't like that, whatever that was, that they used to make fun of him. So they married, and 3B was a product of those two. He had amazing powers, and he had big red hair, and he had antenna. And so he wore a hat, and the kids would tease him because he was skinny and nerdy, real smart, nerdy, and would tease him. And he had a smile like his father. It was planted on his face.
Oh, it's always there.
He could not frown. If we tried to frown, he still smiled. So that did it. But he became a hero. He used to rescue cats. He rescued a kid from a well, and all of a sudden they looked at him in a whole different way. They didn't see him looking different, being nerdy. And the message was, it doesn't matter what you look like or how you talk or what color you are or whatever you believe in, you're still important. And hopefully get that message.
Get that message across. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that one thing I learned from my family is that everyone is important. Everyone is important. They're made some way, whether you believe in another being or what you believe in. We got made somehow at one point in time, and that we should honor that in everybody. So I really never had that problem discerning, caring about what you're making, being judgmental about that. So that's part of me. And I really think
you want to kind of carry that forward. Because I think that's what, like, every artist has like their vision, like they're trying to like tell their story, and they want to make a comment about not only like the plot line, but like how does that story affect the world, right? And usually, like, it relates, like I said, from like sociology, the idea of the microcosm bleeds into the macrocosm, macrocosm bleeds into the microcosm. So if something happens in the family, right? If you have like that like toxic relationship with your parents, then you might get like drawn by the law of attraction to toxic relationships as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
And then drawn into toxic in work environments, and you don't feel safe if you're in something positive, because there's so much toxicity that you're like on this bad loop.
Yes. I so believe you said it just exactly how I feel, because I could have gone two different ways. I had a lot of low self-esteem. I became pregnant when I was 15, had an abortion, and I think it was my father. I had to go through a lot of things to really come to that might have happened. Okay. And a lot of those things could have changed me one way or the other. And I thought, but they helped me be stronger and to look at other people's, everybody's got a story. You have an amazing story, and everybody has a story. When you talked about learning the new language and understanding Chinese or Japanese writings and the depth of it, that's amazing. And I'm sure that helped you relate to them in a whole different way. And had you not seen that, you wouldn't have known, you wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. So you never know what you can learn from something, and no matter what happens to you. And
because a lot of times we have filters. Like I learned it, like, in sociology, psychology, people, like if you were in a conversation, your brain kind of filters things to what you like what you're comfortable with. So when you hear somebody say something, your brain automatically pulls out like trigger words or certain words and puts it on a pathway that's like, oh, that's what that means.
Yep.
And then if you're more evolved, like, you will go and ask somebody, you said this, but what did you really mean?
Yes.
But if you take that without doing any critical thinking or analysis, then you might like misinterpret, and like the whole world is kind of cluttered with all these misinterpretations. They go from a micro level to the macro level, and then we go from like having a family, like neighborhood argument to a like city argument to a state argument to a country argument.
Yes, it can be a domino effect hugely. What I worry about, going back to nursing, they're losing their observation skills because they have to do so much on the computer. The RNs
actually talking to people.
Barely touch the patient anymore. You have to touch and feel heat or cold or muscle strain, all kinds of things when we touch the patient. So observation skills are being left behind. If you don't work with them every day and you don't use them, you lose them. And
that's sad, because I think the worst thing about tech, and I'm in tech, is like, I grew up, I'm a child of the 70s. And I grew up, I was still reading books, still knowing Dewey Decimal, still like going to the library. no net. Like when I was in college, there was the computers had just started, but we're still going into the library and taking
Right.
notes and getting
Oh,
footnotes and endnotes and all that.
yeah.
And now I see these kids today, like they don't know how to go out. Like we actually in statistics class, we actually went out and did polls. And actually, I was in Bowdoin, and we would go out to Brunswick into their neighborhoods and actually take polls and actually go into people's houses and ask them questions and do interviews.
Uh-huh.
Now everything is done like on the computer.
Yes. You don't
And
see.
like, yeah, I mean, if you this thing about like when you're having a conversation, the body language and
Mhm.
everything, we had like pollster, like teachers that say, we actually need to record, like, how are people like? What do they look like? How are they acting when you're talking to them?
Yeah. What is their
Yeah,
body language
with their body
expression?
language, is like people are
Yeah.
losing that if
Oh, I
they're on the
know.
computer all day, like you said, they're not actually
Mhm.
touching people, they're not getting in front of people, they're not
Mhm.
communicating. It's like it gets fine that all these tech people want us on the computer all day or on the
Mhm.
phone all day,
Mhm.
but it's not good for human beings.
I know. What's happening to your brain? You wonder. But I do see that, and even some doctors that are older that have always felt that observation skill was critical. And then they take it away from the doctors because you're being overpowered by pharmaceutical rules,
Yeah.
other rules that is not in your purview. Not they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Well, my argument, because I work with a lot of like actuaries,
Hmm.
and actuaries don't have the soft skills.
So
Actuaries are in the spreadsheet and they're looking for like that 0.001.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that what's in that spreadsheet doesn't actually tell you what's really going on.
No.
Right.
No.
So all they care about is, oh, I made a little bit more profit, but then what did you do to that neighborhood?
Yes.
Did you actually make that neighborhood a house go into default? And now you lowered the quality of the neighborhood. The neighborhood suddenly starts to go down. Maybe you start having crime. You may start having things. So you actually are causing damage,
Yes. But they don't
and you
see
you
it.
don't actually have any kind of situational awareness
No.
for the things that you do because you're so on the spreadsheet that
That's
you're not seeing what you're doing on the spreadsheet. That cell in the spreadsheet is not relating back to the real world.
you don't know that how that affect everything. I have a good instance for you. I retired 3 times and I missed working. So my last job was with a big concern hospital in their products, okay, in their purchasing area. Okay, my spreadsheets, there were six I had every day, six. I had ICU and wound care. I was not going to compromise health and the health of the patient for price. And
Mm-hmm.
I got with those, I used a lot of empathy for the salespeople and everything. I got the best price for the best product. And there was another column where I had saved them $30 million a year. That was cost savings. They didn't look at that. They wanted me to take $3 more million off the bottom line for catheters that go into your vein
Mm-hmm.
and for wound care products. And I said, I have got the lowest price for the best product. I will not do that. And then they said, maybe you should retire again.
But that's why I'm saying the actuary, the bean counter, doesn't understand the quality of life issue, like the patient care issue, and this is why, like, if you think from a societal perspective, like, would you pay for a private fire department, or should the fire department actually be there to protect the public from fire? There's some like tech bros that think that the fire department should be like, you should pay for it.
Oh,
They think they should make like these separate cities that have their own structure and
oh,
aren't part of the other part of society, and they have their own private everything.
oh
And
my.
and it's just like they're so dystopian. And I'm like, did you guys like STEM is cool, the
Mm-hmm,
idea
mm-hmm.
of STEM, but you like
Yes, yes.
having a softer, like taking some philosophy, taking some religion courses, taking some literature courses,
Mm-hmm.
taking history courses, sociology, psychology. Like to me, like I was a liberal arts major, and I had a very broad background, read a lot of books, had to
See
write a
that.
lot of papers.
Uh-huh.
And I just think that when you don't make people read and then actually not just take an SAT type of test, but take a blue book test You take
Yes.
an oral exam and
Yes.
actually have to prove to your professor that you understand what they taught you in
Yes.
your own words, not in little bubbles,
Yes. Yes.
that
No.
you actually come out being able to be a thinker, a
Yeah.
critical thinker that can actually make decisions and not led around like sheep.
I know. Well, maybe we'll become robots. I kind of worry about that, but I so agree with you. I had a professor. He was a writing professor, and at the university, and he said, we're doing all essays in here. So if you don't like that, then you best leave because your money is being spent
That's
elsewhere.
my kind of class. I love those classes. That's the
How
class I
don't
took.
you? Yeah, and he would write in red all over your paper. And then he said, if you don't get what I'm trying to teach you here, call me and get an appointment and I'll sit down with you and we'll
Yeah,
talk.
I love a teacher. I had professors I could go over
Mhm.
their house. Like at Bowdoin, it's very small.
Yes, we went to his house.
So I
Isn't
could
that
go to in Brunswick. I could go to my professor, my
gotcha?
political science professor, and we actually would talk
Yes.
about the
Isn't
paper and talk about his point of view. Go to my
yeah.
sociology professor and go and like have some coffee. Go down to Ben and Jerry's, have some ice cream, and
Oh
actually
my
talk. It
gosh.
was, and it wasn't the TA. It's actually the professor.
It's
That's
the
why I
actual
chose like a college because
yes.
I actually wanted to be taught by a professor, not a TA.
No. I, great. I so agree with you. It's because you can't get the whole essence of talking back and forth without having the expression, your everything, your voice level, everything. So getting talking to the professor after you see your paper, you see it in a whole different way.
Yeah, I just think it's like the oral tradition of knowledge
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like people before they went to college, everybody went to like they had these oral histories that was handed down.
Mm-hmm.
And then they, when you go to college and you actually have that in that lecture hall and you actually have a professor, maybe has only 15 people in the class and they actually can talk.
Yeah.
Like the
Isn't it?
teacher can talk to the student talk to professor.
Yeah.
You
It's
learn
great.
so much better than just sitting there
Oh,
writing all day.
oh, of
Uh,
course.
yeah,
Oh,
like with the notes from the board, it's like you have to have that. To me, to learn, you have to have that discussion. You have to actually read that book and write down things in notes and
yeah.
physically have a pen. And I think if when you don't do that, it's all computer.
Oh, it
I
is.
think
Yeah.
that you don't actually retain it.
No, I don't think it goes in a place in your brain, but you don't utilize it the way you should. You can't because it doesn't have all the earmarks of something that you need of knowledge, which
Yeah, it's
you
just
need.
interesting.
Yeah.
When writers, like we have a couple paths. Like you probably like build your world. You have
Yeah.
maybe outlines, but then
Yeah.
you also have like stream of consciousness, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I've talked to a lot of writers. Like, well, I have an overall outline of my world. I got
Yes.
my character designs, and I put a lot
Yeah.
of work into that, right? I have some plot lines I might have put out, but then I also go through these sessions where I have like a download from the universe,
Uh,
and
oh,
I do it with like a stream of consciousness.
that's great. I think
Right?
that's great.
Do you have that?
Oh, I
Like
do. I have pictures. I have books. I have thousands of notes that I've
notes?
done,
Yeah, yeah.
all kinds of notes. But I also, because I do it late at night between 12 and 3, I talk to my protagonist. I talk to the people that are in there. I get to know them. I draw pictures of them. I'm not a good drawer, but I,
Well, that's cool. The multimedia, I think that's a cool thing.
yeah, just a little of everything. And how would their voice sound if I needed to say it? We're going to say it
Yeah.
like this. Yeah, how are you going to say
Oh, that's cool. You actually work it out.
it?
That's cool that you actually say it
Yeah,
out loud because a lot
yeah.
of people like when
Oh,
you once you say something out loud, it becomes
yeah.
real.
Oh, it
Yeah.
does. It's real. And I wake up my husband, he says, who are you talking to? Now he doesn't see it anymore. He thinks I'm crazy. But honest to God, they become real to you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you make a mistake, they could make a mistake too. And that was good. You needed that in your book.
Yeah, it's the happy accident. Like in music, what we call it like happy accidents. So we
Yes.
have some composers that are very, very like specific, right? Everything's got to be on the chart, everything's on the bar, right?
Oh,
They write down every note, like a really dedicated kind of classical trained type of composer.
yes.
Versus like a jazz fusion or experimental musician. Like we did our 10,000, 20,000 hours, we know our instrument. We can read the music. But
Yeah.
when we write, we do it more based like on a download or a stream of consciousness, and
Uh-huh.
we'll put something down and just kind of let us be free. Let it be free and then see what
Yeah.
happens, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
sometimes it's like the happy accident that happens. We'll go listen to like an hour worth of like putting something down. And then 10 minutes into it, we say, hey, that's the hook. That's the thing. And then we go back and we work on it. But it's very much like hit or miss, very experimental. And it's not like totally composed. It's not like pre-composed and say, well, I'm sitting like Beethoven and I know every note I'm gonna hit. I kind of let it happen.
yeah. It's like free expression, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
beautiful. It's
It's a
amazing.
different type of thing. Cause I ran into a classical musician one time and they were like, we
Ooh,
were in a jam musician. We're trying to bring them into a jazz like session. And
uh-huh.
they kept on asking, like, what key are we in? Like,
Oh,
what time are we in?
yes.
What's it? And I'm like, you can't feel it. You don't hear it.
Feel it. No, they're a whole different world. Yeah. My mother was classical but she could play. She could play all kinds of music. So she loved all kinds of music. So they gave us an appreciation of all kinds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Her,
sometimes you get if they're too strict, like if they're not willing to kind of
no,
be willing to make that mistake. Like some artists that like if you're willing to be like able to experiment and be like I'm not fully like David Bowie said one time, I don't feel great as an artist unless I'm treading water a little bit.
yeah, that's a good that. I like that. I like that.
Because he would go and like change. Like he started singing with Luther Vandross. Like he knew he didn't have a voice like a Luther.
Yeah.
He was actually working with him when he was younger, and he actually pulled him in because he's like, well, he has this great soul R&B voice. I don't have that.
Oh.
But he was willing to work with people that were better than him.
Oh.
And dude did better. They were more capable. And some people don't have an ego where they can't do that, where they can't go work with somebody that will be totally blow them out.
No.
Because that would be, it can't happen.
I'm sure there's that part of the ego that some people won't let go. I'm willing to take. I ask people, if you read my book, give me good whatever you think about it. Put it down. That's important. I need that. I need
that feedback. Like from your beta readers, do you use like beta readers?
Yes, I do. I have betas. I have a bunch of them. I have a bunch of them. And they're very honest with me. And I need that. I need that because I can get lost in my character.
Yeah, you can get tunnel vision. Like as an artist, like we have like when you go into a studio, you have your producers and recording engineers, and sometimes you bring like trusted people in, and then you have like these like listener groups that are like your beta group readers.
Yes.
And you can like send them over to like this thing called like SoundCloud. So you can send stuff over there and then say, I'm not full, this is not for full release. It's going to this like private group. Okay. And they can give you feedback. And they're actually, these are like other musicians or just really big super fans of music. And they'll actually go in and put notes on every section of the song.
Really?
And actually tell you like, okay, this is working, this is not working. And you know, they don't just say I hate it. They actually give you like really good feedback, probably like a beta.
No, yeah, good and positive, but critical.
Telling you like this isn't really working.
Yeah, critical.
And maybe your key should be like a different key, use a different chord voicing, or maybe you know I see what you're trying to do. Maybe you would try to do it like this.
Yeah,
you know,
no, they're looking at it because you get caught in your own art, you know, your own artistic expression, and it gets to be a baby to you. And sometimes you're not
take it personal. You take it like some artists take it personal. Like you think that this is the best thing since sliced bread, and then somebody says, "No, that's like yesterday's news."
It's like soggy bread. Yeah. My grandson, he's the arranger for his group. He does not sing, or he doesn't feel he can sing, but he plays the bass, and he's a great arranger, and he's just a soft-spoken guy. But I've watched him when he's with his band, and he actually has a wonderful way of saying, no, let's try it this way. How about that? Just try that.
Yeah, it's how you do it. Like it's if you can be diplomatic, like you can get like an A-level person, they'll come in and it's like my way or the highway. And then everybody hates him. But it's like, okay, well, he pays the bill, so I gotta deal with it. Versus somebody that's like, okay, I'll put a little sugar on it and make you take it. Then it doesn't taste as sour. So it's like, so if you're able to kind of do the sugar coat it so it doesn't feel like an attack, like you're not red marking everything I just did.
Yeah.
You actually, like if you have a professor that like instead of red marking something, pulls you aside and say, and the first thing they say, I really love this thing you did. And
Yes.
that's the first thing they come in. And then at the end, it's well, there's a little minor grammatical problems here and there. But like if you get approached like that, you're like going to be more
Oh,
receptive,
of course you are.
and you're not going to be as fearful of dealing with them if you actually see like red, you didn't do anything right.
No. Positive reinforcement. When I was teaching high school, I taught vocational ed, and they just didn't like a couple of the things that they had to read. They had to read. They had to learn different techniques. Okay, and they didn't do it. So the next day, I said, "I'm giving you a pop quiz. It's 15 minutes. You are not to look at anyone and don't ask any questions. You have 15 minutes." I handed out blank pieces of paper, blank, completely blank. I sat there reading, looking at a book, scratching my nails, whatever. And no, you can't look at her paper. Nope, I'm sorry, you're not done. And so my A student, she was in the back of the room. She finally put her hand up and said, "Mrs. Sondergaard, my paper doesn't have anything on it. Maybe you had a blank one in the stack." And all the kids then said, "Ours are too." And they said, what are you doing? And I said, "That's how I feel when I give you an assignment and nothing comes back to me."
Oh, you teach them a lesson.
And they said, maybe you're right.
Well, that's cool. Like you actually did like that's a
Yeah,
very cool
it's
way
just
of doing it.
a demo, a way to do it. Yeah, well, I got a sense of humor. We all laughed afterwards. And
No,
then
man, you made your point because like
yeah, yeah,
that's where you got to really they probably remember that to this day.
yeah. Well,
That's,
it became a personal thing, and they liked me as a teacher. They did because I did crazy stuff. So
well, you show you care about your craft,
yeah,
and you're just
yeah.
not phoning it in. Like
No,
when people feel like you're passionate about, you really want these students to learn versus somebody say, "Well, I just want them to kind of get out of here,"
yeah,
and then bring
yeah.
the next group in. Versus like you're actually getting a connection and you feel about like I want these people to succeed. It's like when they when you measure a teacher, like if you only get like 5% of the class doing well, then that teacher's failing.
Yeah.
Because like they should be trying to get like 90% of the kids to do well.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Now they have to, No Child Left Behind made them get at least 75%. And they have to take tests on the computer, not demonstrate things. Show me what you mean about that. What was it like in history? Tell me.
Like that blue book thing. I mean, you really want somebody to not just regurgitate like, oh, I figured out the pattern on an SAT type of bubble test.
Yeah.
Versus like, actually, do you actually understand it?
Do you understand it? Demonstrate, show me.
Yeah, because I mean, when you get into the world, like, I deal with algorithms. We deal with like, I mean, software design. So we have to like look at things like multiple ways. Like in logically, like in code, like you can get to an answer, like tons of different variations could get to the same answer. However, some of them are more efficient than others.
Okay.
And so that we start teaching, it's like, well, yeah, you can get to this answer maybe 15 different ways, but 5 of them take up less CPU, so they're going to cost less money and they're going to be more efficient. So what we teach people is say, yeah, there's more than one answer, but this is also, we want to be efficient. We want to use less energy. We want to do it faster. So then we start teaching people like, how do you think in that way? But you have to start thinking in different, like who's actually getting this?
Yeah.
Who's your customer? What's the purpose?
Wow,
like just don't think in like one lane. You got to open it up.
Yeah, well, that's excellent. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love teachers that kind of go outside of the realm, the bubble.
Yeah, I think teaching is super important because we don't just want like AI robots teaching kids.
No. We will have. Well, they have AI nurses. Did you know that?
Yeah, they got AI lawyers, AI doctors.
They don't even make them pretty. They're boogie.
Yeah, I just don't know. It's like people. Like I was a cancer survivor. I don't think I would want a robot. When I was in the cancer ward recovering from like my second surgery and getting ready to go into chemo.
No,
the nurses were very important when I was in the
I'm sure.
chemo and I was in the radiation when I was coming out of surgery,
Yeah,
that
for sure.
those nurses really made me feel like they cared about me,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And I
And
think that's super important. If we start
oh,
taking away that human touch, like you said, I
can't,
think that's really bad. That's
can't. Yeah. I know some things have to be robotic. Robotic surgery is excellent. It's improved things. It's less invasive and all those things, but you still have to take care of them afterwards. And you really need that personal touch. I hope that doesn't go away. So,
yeah, I think people are going to find out there's limitations to the tech. Like right now, everybody thinks it's like the answer to everything.
oh, well, it's so,
And
don't you think it's any explosion of
yeah,
something?
yeah, everybody always said, it's like the dot-com thing. Everybody
Mm,
thought
yeah,
everything was going to be .com, and then half of them failed.
yeah,
Maybe more than half, like 75%
yeah,
of them fail.
right.
It's like that with this. It's like the AI. There's a lot of purposes that
Yes.
people find. Like, well, guess what? That actually costs more money. Like you went and fired all these engineers, and guess what? You found out you're paying like $100 million in tokens,
Oh my.
right? And your engineers were like, it would cost you 50 million.
Yeah.
So
Plus you,
why are you paying this AI? And then you found out the
yeah,
quality of the AI,
yeah.
it's giving you hallucinations and it's giving you like bad data. And then customers are actually leaving because they don't like the result.
Uh,
So like there's gonna be a weed out
yeah.
of like this
I
is
can
good for this, but it's not good for that.
do that. Yes. And maybe we need to look at how it processes and all of that. It's just
Yeah,
real
there's still
important.
there's still. I mean, I think creative people like you're always gonna need artists. You're always gonna need
I
writers.
hope so.
Because like everybody needs to like there was a statement from a tech bro that said AI has learned all human knowledge. How could that be true?
No,
How could that be true? Because every day human knowledge expands,
no,
and there's human knowledge that's passed down from different generations, and it's not all in the computer.
no, it
It's
isn't.
by talking to another human being. So there's no way that all human knowledge has been learned
Yeah.
by this tool AI.
No, no,
That could never be true. So how can we trust people who make statements like that?
I don't know. I don't know. I have a sister that has dementia, and she's having a terrible time. She always was brilliant, and she's having a terrible time with anything technology. And I said, let's do this. What do you have to do every day? How much time do you need to spend on the phone? Because they're taking care of her finances. I said,
Mhm.
okay, let's find something that'll just do that.
Oh, help
Just
you
do
like that. Yeah, there's all kinds of tools to help people who are disabled. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of cool things like that. There
yeah,
are very good use cases for helping people who are disabled or need help doing tasks or to automate tasks that are repetitive that don't really give you
yeah.
like so you can actually have a business and be like more efficient. Yeah, I'm all for that, but I was just like, I don't need it to pick out my clothes every day.
No, no. And
Maybe
she,
I want to have a sense of style. Maybe I come up with that on my own.
you got a great style.
But
And bless you for your cancer. I've had cancer too, and I go through it. And I loved the nurses that spent time with me.
yeah,
Even the one that just held my hand, the little aide that came in and held my hand.
well, it's so important because
You
like
know,
you don't really think about that until you're in it, and
mhm.
then when you're in it, you're like, wow.
Wow.
Because when your family goes home and you're sitting there and you don't have them there because they got to
Yeah.
go home, and
Oh, yeah.
then you're like, then the nurses are there, and it's like, wow, it's like I'm not by myself.
Yeah.
And I think that was really I took that as like, wow, they really care. And I think that the whole kind of vibe of what you've been talking about is like that empathy
Yeah.
and that understanding
Yeah.
and how you're translating that into your art. I think that's really cool. The way you're like threading that needle, I think that's awesome.
No, definitely. Definitely. You need that needle better than the other ones.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I wanted to point out we're probably near the end of the show, but we've got your QR code that goes to your website.
all right.
So that will actually the QR code that's up there, that's a little code up there. People take their phone and scan that. It'll bring them right to your
Oh, great.
website, and
Great.
so people can use that to
Okay.
people go to your website. What do they find their way to connect with all your art, all your work?
Yeah, they asked for my website. They want to use that a little bit more, and then they go on Amazon. I mean,
Okay,
that's where
that's
they go.
cool. That's where they
Always
can get everything.
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, those particular ones. But Amazon is where they started buying the books and
It's cool.
hearing about. And I said, make a comment because it's important. It
Oh
means
yeah, the comments are everything. Like likes.
oh my
You
God,
got you got
likes.
to have people to like it on your Instagram and like make sure they like your post. And make sure they actually could be able to actually watch it. You know, to get retention.
Yeah.
You know, feedback. That's always cool. But I want to thank you for being on here today. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
And make sure everybody like scans that. We do have your Instagram here. The links below will be fully clickable on the platforms that we're on. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. We will be on major platforms like Spotify Video Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, and Newsly. By tomorrow, we're on LinkedIn again, as I mentioned. I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you as well, Fandom. I very much enjoyed it. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.